Drums of the festival still echoed faintly in the distance. Zina opened his eyes slowly. The ground beneath him was no longer polished marble, but damp red soil. The ceiling above him wasn't carved gold. It was sky, grey, vast and unfamiliar. He stood up, dazed, confused. His royal beads were gone. His cloth torn. Around him, women pounded fufu and laughed. Children played in dirt, and goats wandered freely. Zina stood tall, brushing the dust off his chest.
I am Prince Zina of the royal palace of Akanasa,
he declared. No one even turned. He walked through the village, shouting.
It's the royal carriage. Why are the palace guards?
A man roasting yam looked up and cackled.
Ah, this one must have taken in too much sun. See how he's talking as if he's in a dream.
Zina frowned.
You there, do you not know me?
The man laughed harder.
It's not today that people have been claiming titles. Prince, then I must be the chief of all yam sellers.
Zina clenched his fist, fear crawling into his chest like ants under skin. He made his way toward the palace, dusty and barefoot. The road he had once galloped on with horses now bit into his feet. The guards at the gate eyed him with confusion and mild disgust.
Halt! State your business.
I am Zina, the prince.
The guards exchanged a glance, then burst into laughter. Prince!
Prince? Our prince is away on royal duties. Go and find water to cool your head, stranger.
I am not mad. I know this place. The left hall leads to the war chamber. The queen's garden has red roses only. I slept in the eastern wing.
A guard raised his spear.
Leave! Before we forget that you are still a man.
Zina was thrown to the ground. The palace gate slammed shut behind him. He lay there for a moment, then began to laugh. A bitter, painful laugh.
They don't remember me.
Zina roamed the village, disoriented but persistent. He stopped at elders' homes, priestesses' shrines, even the market square. He pointed to a carved stone.
That was made in my honor when I turned 16.
Still, people laughed. Children threw stones at him. Some villagers called him the dusty one who thinks he's king. Others avoided him altogether. By night, he slept beside broken pots behind the yam seller's hut. He was hungry, angry, confused. But worst of all, he was invisible in a world that used to bow at his feet. The morning sun rose lazily, casting long shadows over the village square. Zina stood near a tree, still watching people passing by like dust in the wind. That was when he saw her. A woman, barefoot, dark-skinned, round-faced, medium height, not too slim, not fat either. She balanced a heavy bundle of firewood on her head with one arm and held a short cutlass in the other. But even in the grime, her beauty was impossible to ignore. People stepped out of her way as she passed, not out of fear, but respect, and maybe a little fear too. She backed at a boy blocking her path.
Hey, if your mother didn't teach you sense, I will. Move.
Zina blinked. There was something about her. Loud, rude, raw, but underneath, something soft paused quietly like a buried ember. As she passed him, he called out slowly.
What is your name?
He called out gently. She turned, eyeing him from head to toe like he was a deceased chicken.
What did you say?
Your name.
She scoffed.
So you're the new madman the village has picked up. Are you not then going around calling yourself prince? You better find work to do. You think asking forenames will feed your stomach?
She turned to leave, but he stepped forward.
I used to eat on a golden plate.
Tennis spun around.
And I used to fly in the sky every market day. Should I kneel and worship you now?
People nearby snickered. Zina's shoulders dropped. But as Tenny walked away, she muttered under her breath.
At least you're finer than the other mad ones.
The sun was already blazing when Zina found himself trailing Tenny from a distance. She had gone deep into the forest, her cutlass swinging as she hacked through dry branches, like she was fighting old demons. He didn't even understand why he was following her. She paused to wipe sweat from her brow. Her cloth clung to her skin. The firewood she'd gathered already towered beside her, more than any one person could carry. Without thinking, Zina stepped out.
Let me carry it.
She rose her head sharply.
You again? Are you following me?
I want to help.
Tenny raised a brow, eyeing his bare chest and soft palms.
You want to carry firewood? The same mouth that said it ate from golden plates.
I know strength, and I know how to lift things. I can do it.
He replied stubbornly. She mocked him.
Hey, the spirits must really be playing. Go ahead, Prince. Show me.
Zina tried. He knelt, arms shaking as he hoisted the heavy bundle onto his shoulder. He staggered 2 steps forward, then dropped to his knees. Tenny didn't help. She stood there watching, arms folded.
You see? You're not built for this. You're just full of sweet mouth and soft hands.
Zina, breathless, but something flickered in his eyes. Determination.
I'll learn.
Tenny blinked. That caught her off guard.
Then meet me here tomorrow morning before the sun wakes. If you're late, don't bother.
She walked off, her back straight, her cutlass glinting like the insult she didn't say aloud. Zina watched her go, chest rising, with a mist of pride, shame and something else he didn't know how to name. Before the first cock crowed, Zina was already waiting at the forest path, barefoot, shirtless, with an old rope tied around his waist to hold up the cloth someone had given him. He looked ridiculous. Tenny arrived chewing on a stick of sugarcane, her cutlass swinging at her side. She raised a brow.
So, you're not all talk after all.
I said I'd learn.
We'll see.
No greetings, no smiles. She tossed him a smaller bundle of food.
Carry that.
The walk was long. His legs ached, his arms burned, but he kept going.
Cut that branch.
Zina raised the cutlass and missed. Twice.
Ha! Even ants would laugh at you. Were you raised by dancers?
No, by warriors.
Then the warriors must have been sleeping.
He grunted, trying again. Still, he didn't talk back. Tenny blinked at that. Usually, men would storm off by now. Pride crashed, but he stayed. He listened. And when he finally managed to tie a proper rope around the bundle, she didn't say anything, but she watched closely. They walked back in silence, 2 bundles of firewood on Zina's back. As they entered the village, an old woman muttered,
"That mad prince has found a wife."
Tenny spun around.
Keep your mouth shut before I throw this log at you.
Zina smiled. She caught it.
What are you grinning at?
Nothing. You just remind me of a queen I once knew.
Tenny rolled her eyes. The village market was buzzing. Women argued over yams. Children ran wild, snatching granules. Traders shouted prices like war chants. Tenny was holding a bundle of firewood on her head, sweat rolling down her face. Zina trailed her with 2 more bundles on his back. They had become a pair now, though neither would dare admit it. Near the grinding stone, a well-dressed woman eyed Tenny and scoffed.
"Hi, firewood seller. This is how you choose to spend your womanhood?"
Tenny paused.
"Still no man, Abby. No wonder. Even the mad ones avoid you."
Her jaw tightened, but she said nothing. She had heard worse, but Zina heard it too, and for the first time in weeks, he snapped.
Say it again.
"What?"
He turned sharply.
Say it again about her.
The woman blinked, startled.
Look at you. You wear beads and silk, yet your tongue is dirtier than a goat's behind. She works. She feeds herself. What do you do? Gossip and wear clothes your husband didn't pay for.
A gasp swept through the crowd. Tenny's eyes widened.
"Are you mad?"
Yes. I'm the mad prince, remember? And this madman says, if you talk about her again, I'll make you swallow your own spit.
The woman hissed and stormed off, muttering curses. Zina turned back calmly and picked up the bundle. The crowd was silent. Then someone clapped. Then another. Soon, a soft ripple of applause followed them as they walked away. Tenny didn't speak until they were far from the market.
You shouldn't have done that.
She insulted you.
I've been insulted before.
Well, now you've been defended too.
She said nothing. But that night, she set out extra food by the fire for him without saying a word. And Zina, he ate it all, smiling to himself. The moon was bright that night. The fire cracked gently, casting soft shadows on their faces as they sat outside Tenny's compound. She was sharpening her cutlass. He was weaving rope for the next day's firewood bundles. Silence hung comfortably between them. Then Zina spoke.
I used to live in a palace, you know.
Tenny snorted.
And I used to fly with eagles.
I'm serious.
Of course you are. You also used to drink from a river made of palm wine, right?
I had servants, horses, even guards who followed me to the stream.
Then what happened? Your crown fell into a latrine.
He laughed, shaking his head.
I dream about it sometimes. The courtyard, my mother's singing voice, my father's hands, always cold but strong.
Tenny paused, sharpening. She glanced sideways. His tone had shifted. Softer, real.
You say it like it's true.
Because it was. I'm not just some madman. I remember things. But no one else seems to.
Tenny frowned. Silence. The only sound was the crickets humming. Tenny didn't laugh this time. She searched his face. The calm way he stared into the fire, the quiet conviction in his voice. He wasn't playing. And for the first time, she didn't think he was mad.
Even if it's true, that world is gone now.
Maybe, but not everything from it.
What do you mean?
I had a dream last night. You were there.
Me?
You stood beside me in the palace. Not as a servant, not even as a queen, but as a storm.
A beat passed. Tenny's lips parted, but she said nothing. The fire cracked louder between them, and neither looked away. The sun was at its peak when Zina made a decision. He stood in front of Tenny's door, adjusting his clothes for the 100th time. His mind raced. Would they recognize him? Would they remember?
Are you going back to the palace?
Tenny's voice cut through his thoughts.
I'm going to show them who I really am.
He turned to her. She was silent for a long moment.
And what if they mock you again?
They will, but I have to go.
You've been mocking yourself, not them.
She muttered under her breath, but loud enough for him to hear. Zina just smiled, an uncomfortable one. She didn't say anything as he turned and walked toward the palace. His steps slow and heavy with uncertainty. The guards didn't even glance at him as he approached the gates. He walked straight in, past the massive stone walls and tall pillars, until he stood at the entrance of the throne room. The king and queen were seated at the front, their robes gold and regal. Zina stepped forward, his voice steady, despite the lump in his throat.
Father, mother.
The room went silent. The king squinted, then shook his head.
Who is this?
A madman. Leave before we call the guards.
Zina swallowed, but his voice didn't waver.
I am Zina, your son.
They stared at him.
You dare come into my house and claim to be my son? My son died years ago. The one you speak of is gone.
Zina's heart twisted, but he didn't back down.
No, I am him. You've forgotten me, but I'm here. I remember. I know you.
Leave now before I have you thrown out. You're nothing but a non-entity. The throne is for those who have earned it, not for madness.
A painful silence filled the room. Zina's chest tightened, but he stood tall.
No matter what you say, I am your son. And I will never be forgotten again.
Without another word, he turned and left, the palace door slamming behind him. The sun was setting by the time Zina returned to Tenny's compound. The firewood bundle he carried felt heavier than usual. When Tenny saw him, she didn't ask a single question. She simply sat by the fire, gesturing for him to sit. He did, without a word.
They didn't take you in.
The silence stretched between them, but this time, it was different. No longer was it filled with mockery or pity. Now it was understanding. Zina wasn't mad. He was just lost. And Tenny, she had never been one to turn away the lost. The night was quiet, save for the occasional hoot of an owl and the rustling of the wind through the trees. Zina sat by the fire again. Tenny had joined him, her face more serious than usual. She sat down across from him, eyes narrowing as she studied him.
You keep running away from it.
What?
The truth. You act like you've got it all figured out, but you're lost. And you're dragging yourself deeper into this pit with each step.
Zina clenched his jaw, turning his eyes away from her. He had never been one for confrontation, not like this.
What's your point?
You think your family will welcome you back with open arms, right? Like they'll suddenly remember you're their prince. No, they'll never remember you as the prince they once knew. But what are you going to do? Keep chasing a shadow? You can't keep lying to yourself. It's just you now. The rest of the world, it doesn't care about what you were. It's about what you are.
I know who I am.
You know nothing. If you truly knew who you were, you wouldn't be out here trying to impress people who've already forgotten you. You're not that boy anymore. That boy is gone.
Then who am I?
He said softly, sitting back down. Tenny's gaze softened.
You're the man standing before me right now. You're the one who defends me when no one else will. You're the one who brings me firewood and stays silent at the fire when you don't know how to speak. You're the one who thinks he's mad because he's been told he's mad. But you're not mad, Zina. You're lost.
Zina's throat tightened, but no words came. He had wanted to fight her, to prove that his past was more important than the present. But her words, they felt like a cold splash of water.
You've been walking through this world, pretending like your past will save you. It won't. Your future is here, in this moment, with me. So what are you going to do about it?
Zina looked at her, his heart racing. For the first time, the weight of everything he had been holding on to, the memories of a kingdom, of a throne, of a crown, felt lighter than it ever had. And for the first time, he didn't feel the need to chase something that was already gone.
I don't know.
You don't have to know, but you can't run anymore. It's time to face the world as it is, not as you think it should be.
Tenny's voice was gentle now. Zina sat there, still and silent, his mind finally starting to accept the truth. Tenny had given him a mirror, and for the first time, he could see himself clearly. And maybe, just maybe, that was all he needed. Days turned into weeks, and Zina had begun to change. The fire that once burned with the need to prove himself had slowly dimmed, replaced by a quiet understanding. He no longer talked about his past, about the palace or the throne. Instead, he spent his days with Tenny, working alongside her, learning the land and the hustle. His nights, once filled with restless dreams of a life that no longer existed, were now spent beside her, listening to the crackle of the fire and the quiet rhythm of her movements. It wasn't a grand transformation. It was subtle. It was in the way he no longer rushed to be seen, no longer searched for validation from those who had forgotten him. But there was something deeper in him now, a shift, a change that came not from a past life, but from the quiet, steady presence of Tenny beside him. On this particular day, as they worked to gather firewood for the fire, Tenny noticed how much quieter Zina had become. He wasn't talking about the throne anymore. He wasn't questioning his worth. He was just there, and it was enough.
You're different now. I can feel it.
Zina paused. His heart skipped at the mention of the change, but there was no defensiveness in his eye.
I think I'm starting to see that.
Tenny smirked, but it was soft, not harsh.
Good. You were a madman before, but now you're becoming someone worth knowing.
He looked at her then, really looked at her as if seeing her for the first time in a way he hadn't before. The woman who had taken him in, who had cared for him when no one else would. The woman who had showed him that he didn't need to chase a crown to find his worth.
You've changed me.
It's not me, Zina. It's you. You always had it in you. You just had to stop running away.
And for a long while, neither of them spoke. The evening of the festival arrived, and the village square was filled with laughter and the lively rhythms of the drums. However, Zina stood apart from the crowd, not out of isolation, but out of peace. Beside him was Tenny, her steady presence like a quiet anchor amidst the chaos. The energy of the festival buzzed around them, but for Zina, it all felt distant. He no longer craved the recognition of the villagers or the palace. He had no desire to prove himself to anyone. His heart, once weighed down with doubt, was now light, centered in the moments he spent with Tenny.
Tonight's different.
Tenny murmured, eyeing the preparations. Zina smiled.
It is, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
The boat looked out over the village. the flickering lights casting shadows on the earth, the music, the dancing, the village's heartbeats. They were all part of a world Zina had once longed to control. Now, he saw it for what it was, part of a larger whole. There was no need to conquer it.
There's no throne to sit on here, Tenny, but here, I'm home.
Tenny glanced at him, her eyes narrowing slightly, as if weighing his words.
You sound like a man who's finally stopped running from the truth.
Zina chuckled.
Maybe.
There was a quiet pause between them, the weight of everything they had been through hanging in the air. Then Zina turned to face Tenny fully, his voice steady but filled with a soft intensity.
Tenny, will you be with me? Not just for today, but for everything that comes next.
Tenny's brow furrowed for a brief moment, but then a soft chuckle escaped her lips.
I thought you'd never ask.
Zina's lips tugged into a small content smile. Without another word, Tenny's hand found his, their fingers intertwining effortlessly. It felt like a promise, like everything they had experienced, all their struggles and growth had led to this very moment. As they walked toward the center of the festival, the villagers fell into an expectant silence. Eyes flickered between them, uncertain, as if they were seeing Zina for the first time. A few people whispered, some pointed, but Zina wasn't bothered. His gaze was steady, unwavering, meeting the eyes of those who had once mocked him. Their surprise wasn't enough to shake him. He had found his place here, with Tenny by his side. The drums picked up in the background, and Zina looked over at Tenny. She raised an eyebrow, her lips curling into a playful grin. Together, they joined the circle of villagers, swaying to the rhythm of the drums. The night felt like a celebration, not of titles or past struggles, but of life itself, of the simple beauty of being present, side by side in the moment. The sun rose gently over the village, its golden light slowly stretching across the horizon. The festivities of the night before seemed to have left a lasting warmth in the air, a sense of contentment, settling into the village's rhythm. Zina's eyes fluttered open. The ceiling above him was not the open sky of the village, nor the thatched roof of Tenny's home. It was carved wood, high, ornate, and regal. The silk burden beneath him felt strange, heavy, and far too clean. He jolted up, breathing fast. What? Where was he? The heavy gold curtain swayed gently beside the tall palace window. Birds chirped somewhere in the distance, and the scent of healing herbs lingered in the air. Just then, the large doors creaked open. His mother, the queen, rushed in, followed closely by the king and the royal healer. Her eyes welled up with tears the moment she saw him awake.
Zina, my son, the gods have finally spared you,
she cried, clutching his hand tightly. Zina blinked, his head swimming with questions.
What happened?
You've been ill, Zina. The day you failed to appear before the god's sacred program, you collapsed. You've been unconscious ever since. The gods punished your pride.
Zina's heart thudded. The village, Tenny, the firewood, was it all a dream?
No, it felt too real.
You've been in bed for many moons, Zina. We feared you might never return to us.
The healer added gently.
but praise be to the gods, you're back.
The queen stroked his face, tears spilling freely now. But Zina wasn't fully back. Part of him was still there, in that simple village, with a woman whose voice had once made him feel more alive than anything in this palace. He barely heard his parents as they spoke blessings and called for a feast. His mind was spinning, replaying the memories, Tenny's laughter, her teasing, her strength. How could this have been a dream? And then his fingers closed around something beneath the covers, something rough, something real. He slowly pulled it out, a piece of twine, the same kind Tenny had tied bundles of firewood with. It smelled of ash and smoke, and it was in his hand. This wasn't part of any palace life. It wasn't decoration. It was real. Tenny was real. But how? That night, While the palace celebrated, Zina sat alone under the stars. He stared at the twine in his hand and whispered to the sky. But something deep in his spirit stirred. Maybe this wasn't the end. Maybe it was a second chance. The drums echoed across the village, like thunder rolling through the hills. It was the festival of rekindling, a day of unity, meant to seal the prince's return with joy. But this time, a dark twist shadowed the air. A decree had been sent across the land. All unmarried women must appear at the town square. Each must perform a rare talent. The one chosen by the prince shall become queen. Those who fail to show up will be punished by death. The townspeople gathered early, buzzing with fear and hope. Mothers whispered blessings over daughters. Fathers sharpened their gaze, praying their girls would be chosen. Behind the crowd, Tenny stood quietly, arms folded, sweat dripping down her temples. Her firewood bundle still leaned against her heart. She hadn't changed. Why would she? This wasn't a moment for her. She rolled her eyes.
These royal people and their foolishness. What rare talent again? Is carrying firewood now a sin?
She muttered, tying her cloth tighter. Yet when the morning came, she walked into the square, dusty, sweaty, unbothered. She hadn't even bothered to wipe the ash off her arms. Her headscarf was the same one she tied before every long walk into the woods. One by one, the village girls stepped out with performances, dancing, singing, reciting poetry. Then came Tenny. She stood in the center of the square, her chin high.
I don't know poems or dances, but this is what I do,
she said plainly. With perfect poise, she balanced her firewood on her head, circled the square twice without wobbling, then brought the bundle down and snapped the log in two with her bare hands. The crowd murmured. Some laughed nervously. Then came a silence. Zina came closer, watching her, the moment he had waited for. There she was, his Tenny, looking just like she had in the dream, covered in sweat, strong, beautiful, wild.
I choose her.
A sharp collective gasp followed.
What did you say?
Zina walked toward her slowly.
I said, I choose you. I thought you'd never show up.
The queen rose, her voice sharp as a blade.
Zina, no, this is not how it was meant to go.
She's the one. She's the one who taught me humility, who made me work, who didn't care who I was, but saw me for who I became. And if she'll have me, I want her to be my queen.
The queen's fist clenched, but the king stood slowly and placed a hand on her shoulder.
Let him be, woman. The gods do not show love in ways we understand, but they are never wrong.
The queen's eyes filled with tears. She finally nodded.
Please, come with me. You don't know me, not yet, but I'll spend every day proving what I already feel. Just give me the chance.
Zina turned to Tenny, reaching for her hand. She stared at him for a long moment. Then with a tired sigh, she said,
Fine, you're the prince. Do what you like. But don't think I'll be some quiet royal wife.
He smiled.
I wouldn't dream of it.
Tenny didn't fall in love in a week, not even in a month. At first, she kept her distance in the palace, refusing help, refusing clothes, even refusing the soft food. She wore the same cloth, tied her scarf tightly, and rolled her eyes at the palace maids who tried to soften her up. But Zina, he didn't stop. He showed up at the firewood shed she insisted on building. He walked with her in the garden when no one else did. He leaned to chop wood beside her, laughing at every splinter he got. He told her stories. He sang terribly. He watched her with quiet respect, and slowly, her heart began to shift. The sun dipped low behind the palace, washing the sky in gold. Tenny stepped out from her chambers, and for a moment, even the breeze seemed to pause. She wore a flowing wine-red dress with golden accents, the fabric rich but not overwhelming, hugging her form gracefully. Simple, elegant, powerful. No scarf, no ash, just Tenny, as she was. Zina looked up from where he stood near the garden steps, and everything around him disappeared. He stared, unable to speak. Tenny tilted her head, amused.
Is it that bad?
His voice finally returned, soft and odd.
You look like royalty, like the queen I dreamed about. No better.
She scoffed, but her eyes betrayed her, holding the briefest flicker of warmth. She walked past him slowly, the golden trim of her dress brushing her ankles. She sat on the stone steps back street, the sunset glowing against her skin. Zina followed and sat beside her. Then she said,
I'm still the same woman who chopped wood yesterday.
And I'm still the fool who's been in love with her since then.
For a while, they watched the sky turn to dusk. Then Tenny leaned in and whispered,
Maybe, just maybe, I like you.
Zina's head turned fast. His smile was wide and boyish.
I thought you'd never say that.